Hello, Comics Alternative fans. Before we start with the episode, we want to invite all of you to check out our Patreon campaign.
That's right. Go to www.patreon.com/comicsalternative for more details. There you'll find more information about the campaign and the cool rewards levels we have.
For as little as $1 a month, you can help us maintain good quality comics talk, and the more you contribute, the more perks you get.
These include monthly podcast episodes exclusive to Patreon supporters, as well as the chance to help us choose which books we review on the show. So be sure to visit www.patreon.com/comicsalternative and become one of our proud podcast patrons.
Yeah, and now on with the show.
This is the Comics Alternative on location for Free Comic Book Day 2015.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not be alarmed. Please remain perfectly still. What you are about to see is real. The performers are not grinning scarecrows sent here to torture and manipulate you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Comics Alternative on location. I'm Derek, one of the two guys with PhDs talking about comics, and this is Free Comic Book Day, the 2nd of May, 2015. As always, Free Comic Book Day is the first Saturday of May, and as I have been over the past few years, I'm down at my local shop, which is Collected Comics and Games in Plano, Texas. And in fact, let me tell you about where these guys are located. They're on the corner of Independence and Parker in Plano, Texas. The address is 3100 Independence Parkway. This is a great shop. Freddie, whom I hope we have him on the show later today, is the manager. And these guys know their comics. They will treat you well. They have a wide selection, and this is a very personal and personable shop. So there may be shops that are bigger, that may have a little more inventory, but there's something a little, I don't know, kind of sterile about it. Here, you come in, and it's almost like being on the cast of Cheers. You know, they say your name when you come in, and everybody knows your name. And that's Collected Comics and Games in Plano, Texas. So, Free Comic Book Day, the traffic here has died down a bit from what it was earlier. I came down with my daughter in the morning, and right when the shop opened, they had quite a number of people. But Freddie told me a moment ago that things have died down. Now, someone who can also share with me a bit of what the day's been like here is a guest of the show previously, and that is Hunter S. Zombie. Hunter, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing fine. So now you were here when the shop opened, and how's the crowd been?
Oh, it's been great. Honestly, everyone's been really, really nice. Here, let me get a little closer here. Everyone came out. It's been a really great place. You were saying it's like Cheers. To use a more contemporary reference, I'd probably say Big Bang Theory. It's like going to a little shop. Everyone knows you. It's a real homey feel.
That's a better comparison.
Yeah.
I should have. And I watched Big Bang Theory. I should have even thought of that. But you're right. There is that kind of hominess to it.
Yeah, no, it's great out here. Everyone came out. They had free donuts and cookies out here for everyone. So everyone's been getting comics, picking stuff up. We had artists out here. We had Andy Hirsch out here who was doing free sketches for people. We got Thomas Branch over here, and I forget this feller's name. So it's a great turnout, great folks out here, great shop. So definitely, if you're in the area, please come on by, stop by, get some free comics, or buy something.
Yeah. Or actually, when people hear this, they shouldn't come out here and expect what you just said because we're not live.
No, that's right. That's right.
But if there was some...
just go.
Yes.
Just go.
Come
when
another
you get a chance,
time. Although
go.
if there's a way to teleport back in time, then I guess, listen to what Hunter says.
Yeah.
Now, Hunter, you're one of the artists who's out here as well. And it's been, I don't know, at least a year since you've been on the podcast. I've talked to you one or two times here at the shop. And then also at the Dallas Con.
Yeah.
Now, you've been busy lately. How are things going with your work?
Right now, it's just book two. Going on there with all that. Things that, like I said, have died down. The Dallas Comic-Con 2014 kind of took a bit of a hit when we were out there. They kind of put a lot of us smaller folks in the back, and a lot of people did not make money. A lot of people lost money.
Was that the one last May?
Yeah, last May in 2014, and it didn't go well. A new company took over, Fan Expo. They took over, and so it just a lot of folks there were not happy. And usually they sell out of table space pretty quick, but this year they were hitting us up as late as last month. Last month they were actually trying to get more people to come and buy tables, and no one could afford it. I mean, it's like $300, and that's an independent guy who's barely making anything. And so the prices were too high, the way it was set up. A lot of the other artists are saying we're not going to be coming back. And it's been tough there for a few folks. So that part's been real rough. So the business, the marketing side has kind of died down. Still sending my checks to George Romero for anyone who purchases any of the books. The books are available at BarnesandNobles.com now, so you can get Stillborn, the first zombie, at BarnesandNobles.com. That's a new big one.
Okay, well, let's back up here because listeners of the podcast who may not have heard the previous shows about your work, Stillborn, how would you introduce this to the uninitiated? And then I want you to tell about the Romero link.
Okay, all right. The book that I work on is Stillborn, the First Zombie, and it chronicles the story told from the point of view of the first member of the infected. It brings definitely a more deeper story than what we've usually heard, and it shows the apocalypse from the zombies' point of view, to actually see why this virus is spread, why it's happening, what's happening. It gives a lot more depth to it. So it's you get to see the apocalypse from the beginning all the way till the end, which is where a lot of stories don't go. Usually most zombie stories you're kind of smack in the middle. So Stillborn gives you more of a history of a character, of someone to follow from the beginning to the end. And those are the books that I'm working on. We've had the first one out, which is The Trap, which goes over a group of workers that go into this condemned house, and they get trapped inside with Stillborn, the first zombie, who basically kills them off one by one. And those that stay alive find out more about who this zombie is, who this character is, and his history. It's kind of like the first 10 minutes of a movie. It's just kind of get you in, and then the remaining 6 books go over the rest of the apocalypse. The book 2, which we're working on now, is about basically how the town came to be, how Stillborn came to be, and where the infection is going to start and spread. One thing that some people may or may not know, but the modern flesh-eating zombie that we have today was created by George Romero back in 1968, 69. And when he made the film, Night of the Living Dead, he didn't get the copyrights for it. That's like making Batman and then not getting the copyrights. And so what happened is that everyone went out and made zombie movies, zombie T-shirts, zombie everything, including Night of the Living Dead. And he didn't make a dime. He never see any of it. So this man who should technically be a billionaire right now for creating one of the greatest modern American monsters, not even America, of the world. You know, zombies are everywhere. It is not getting any royalties for that. So what I've decided to do, as well as I'm hoping others will take the influence, is I said, you know what, for every dollar that we make, we're going to give 10% to George. We're going to give a chunk of our profits back to Romero to pay the royalties that we believe he should be getting. And we've actually even talked with George's people, and they're all for it. And
that's funny. It's like Hollywood talk. You've talked to George's people.
Yeah. Well, that's it's serious, because you'll talk to more than one person. It's like you talk to the one person to get through to the next person to get through to the next. And so I spoke to David Gersh of the David Gersh Talent Agency, who is Romero's representative. And he completely agreed, was all for it, loved the idea of the book and everything, and we've been pushing that out ever since. And right now, as you know, being an independent, we don't have a whole team working on it, so it's just one person and trying to get that out. So we were doing the issues at first, single issues, and that was going okay, but it just... because of how fast everything is now. I mean, you want to know anything, click, boom, there it is. You've got 10,000 different ways to find that information or to get it. So what we're doing now is we're trying to put out one book a year. We think would be pretty steady. So we've done book 1. Now this year let's put out book 2, and next year book 3.
And these are hard copy books.
Yeah. The paperback, we're doing the trade paperback.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. The graphic novels. Yeah.
Now you had online issues, right?
Yes. Yeah. You can buy the first 5 issues single if you'd like online right now. Still.
So they're still available.
Yes. You can go to stillbornthefirstzombie.com. And so you can go through and still get those there. And every issue, whether you buy a graphic novel or issue, comes with a free digital copy, so you can download it. And it's not like something where you have to go through hoops. It's a straight set PDF file that you can download as many times as you want. You share it with your friends. That's perfectly fine. Because the way we see it, people are going to pirate your stuff anyway. You might as well get the hits on your website if you're going to do it. So you can still do that. But mainly, like I said, right now we're just trying to focus on just doing the graphic novels and putting those out piece at a time now because of how because every time you do an issue, then you have to market that issue, and you got to call the shops for that issue, and you got to do this and this and this. So we said, well, we just condense that down to one book at a time,
right?
To make it a bit
easier. So
easier.
you won't be releasing the individual issues; they'll be making up this second book.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you get one of the single issues, eventually down the line, those will probably be worth more money because they won't be in existence after a certain point. I'm even talking to the printing company about, like, at some point we're just going to stop the single issues and just do the graphics. So get them while you can.
Now, can they buy the individual single issues, the floppies, through the website?
Yeah, through the website right now. But like I said, that's limited time. I think about this time next year, it'll probably be gone.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that first volume, which can also get it through the website, but you said Barnes & Noble?
BarnesandNobles.com is right now.
Okay, so you can get it on Barnes & Noble. What about Amazon?
Yeah. We should. You have the usual challenge. You've got Amazon. We got a licensing through or a vendor set up with Barnes and Nobles, and then there's IndiePlanet.com is another spot where you can buy it at, and trying to get to a few others. But yeah, Amazon's always an.
Well, one of the reasons why I ask about Amazon is we have an Amazon Associate account, so we will certainly. I would have put hyperlinks to the in the show notes anyhow, but now that it's at Amazon, I definitely will. So this is good. But we'll also put a link back to your website as well.
Yeah,
in the show
yeah.
notes.
Just to me, go straight to the website. It's under construction right now, so the whole first page is just links where you can buy it. So just go straight to the front page of the website. It'll take you from there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's right now it's just trying to get that second book done with the work and progression that has to go onto that, and then trying to keep up with everything that's going on today. With everything, like I'm sure as you've heard, as of this recording, Avengers 2: Age of Ultron has come out, and that's become the big movie now.
You were telling me before we started recording that you went to see it last night.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I want to see this, but knowing me, I probably won't get around to it until the tail end of the first run, which is what I did in the first Avengers movie.
But it's understandable because the crowds are so big, and people will go multiple times. So yeah, I understand.
So, what is your take on this? Well, first off, are you a Marvels / specifically Avengers fan? And if so, how does that impact your assessment of this second film?
I am a Marvel fan. As the Avengers, I've been a little back and forth, just because some of the storylines and everything, there wasn't a lot of development, especially in the 90s. X-Men was the big thing that came out. You had the cartoon, Jim Lee's doing the new books, and so it was really big. So I'm an Avengers fan too. I'm more of a fan of the films, honestly, than I have been of the comic. But that doesn't mean I will still choose the comic over the movie any day. Now, having seen the second film, I love what they've done. They've kept it in the universe. Everything's good. I'll say that. But there's those nerdy tweaks that only a comic reader would know. Like, that's not his origin. That's not where he came from, but you got to twist it. You got to leave a little bit of bendability with it. I think that if you've enjoyed if you've enjoyed any of the Marvel films, you're going to enjoy this one. It's definitely up there. It's definitely raising the bar.
So, and we have someone here. Did you want to come talk with us?
Sure.
If you can
come on. We're just grabbing people off the street here.
I was just standing there nodding.
This is one of the shop customers, and in fact, you were on one of our earliest on-location shows back not quite 2 years ago, correct?
Yeah, something like that.
And tell us your name again.
My name is Chris Verana.
Chris, welcome back on the show. So you went to see the movie last night as well?
I actually saw it 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago?
Yeah, back the opening night on Thursday. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it opened yesterday. Again, that tells you how in the loop I am.
I think it did open yesterday, but because of time zone things, it opened at like 10 o'clock on Thursday night.
Well, no, they always do that. It's like if it's being released on Saturday, there's a preview, like a midnight showing or something the night before. So it was opening on Friday, so yeah, Thursday night was the time.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
I went and saw it Thursday night, basically 10:30 showing.
So
overall impression?
It was amazing. I loved it. There was like you were saying before I sat down. There were these little tiny things that if you're a fan of the comics, you'll notice them. Like just something I've noticed throughout all the movies is that they've mixed up the colors of the Infinity Gems.
Yeah, that's the point you were talking about.
It's a very tiny thing, but blue is space in the movies and it's mind in the comics, and they're not by any means deal breakers, but you kind of look at them and go, oh man.
Yeah. Humans have a lot with color association. That's why we don't like green eggs and ham.
Yeah.
Okay, now what you guys have noted raises an interesting question, and it's something that every now and again comes up in one form or another on the podcast, and that is the link between the movies and the comics, especially in terms of fans. So, as both of you have mentioned, there's a lot in the films, and not just the Avenger films, but, all of the Marvel, and I guess DC, that fans could appreciate and then nitpick over. You were talking about colors and origin stories and whatnot.
Yeah.
But for me, one of the more interesting questions is not so much how many of the comic book fans are going to go to the movies and then really get engaged in it, because it seems to me that that's a foregone conclusion. But it's the other direction. How many of those who have no experience with comics in any way, shape, or form, Marvel or otherwise, are going to go to these films and then later come to a place like Collected and look for, I want, the latest Avengers issue, or what is this X-Men thing that I heard referred to. So, and from what I've seen, there doesn't seem to be that much of a link between sales and the success of a particular film. And I think that the statistics have shown this again and again over the past several years, because we have had, big freaking successes, especially with these Marvel movies.
Oh, yeah.
So if that's the case, why aren't we seeing more sales with not only the titles that these films are linked to, but comic sales in a broader sense? And I don't think that that's there.
I was going to say, go ahead. Let's hear from the everyman on this, because I could talk for an hour about this. I could talk for an hour about this subject.
Being put on the spot already. I was passing it to you because I was still trying to think of my answer.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll give you a couple. I guess we could go with the first. No one likes to read. We could go with that route. Because with films, the films have been associated with a much different I guess, perspective on life. You take the date. You go see the dinner and the movie. We're going to go take the kids. You go to a movie. Very rarely do you say, hey, I'm going to take this girl to the comic book store. I'm really going to impress her tonight.
Which is a damn shame, by the way.
So
unless you're on the cast of Bang Theory, right?
What people... it goes back to remembering is that comics started as kind of a nerd medium, really. It was, not exactly the most popular form of entertainment out there.
It didn't start as a nerd.
No. But I mean, it developed that way. And then now, even though that stereotype has almost become, I guess, in fashion, people are like, oh, I'm a nerd. No, you have no idea what physics is. But... what we've seen with people now, the reason that they go to the movies and then just don't go to the shop is because that's not their way of doing things. That's not their usual daily motion. For comic readers, it is, hey, you read the comic, hey, they're making a movie, I'm going to go see that movie. But when you go see a movie, you don't think, oh, I want to go read the book. You think, hey, I saw the movie. I don't need to read the book now.
Right.
And if there's any differences, you don't care because you saw the movie. I've seen the Game of Thrones TV show, but I've never read one of the books.
Same here.
Yeah.
And that was more because I wasn't a fan of the TV show, but that's just me. Yeah. I do agree with that. I think that there's a flow from the comics to the movies, but not the other way. And I don't know if that's because people don't want to read the comics, or if it's just because people don't quite understand what the comics are doing. As far as I know, it's entirely possible somebody will watch the Avengers movie and think, that was really good, I can't wait for the next movie. Oh no, I'm not going to go read the comics, I've already seen the movie, I know the story. And they don't understand that comics are so much more than just what the movie can show. I don't know if that's the problem, and I don't know if the problem is also just cost. Because there are some people who kind of balk at the idea of spending, not a whole ton of money, but you spend it every month for what they consider to be not a lot of story, because they're used to, full-length novels, which are several hundred pages, and then you get a comic book, and the comic book is
24 to 36.
Something like that, yeah. So that might be
it's in our, with the way we have multimedia here, it's like movies are the last stop. You have the book, and then there's the adaptation, and then there's maybe a TV show, and then that's the movie. It's always, it starts here with the source, and then the movie's always the last thing. You don't go from the last thing and go back.
Yeah,
is usually, and that's why I think it's like when you look, if entertainment was a river, movies would be that dam at the end.
And unfortunately, people are not salmon. Although I would make the argument that they don't always end at the movies. Sometimes they move to video games, but that's still not moving back towards comics.
Yeah, but no, it's like when you hit the movies, it's like an explosion, because the movie is the thing that will help spark the game, help spark the toys, help spark the other merchandise.
Right, but
and along with this, we can apply this discussion not only to film but also to television, especially over the past year, or arguably a year and a half or 2 years, where you have had more and more television shows that are devoted to comics properties. And I'm not just talking about those that have been around for at least a couple of seasons, like Arrow, or now there's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but also this latest season where we have Gotham, a little more recently iZombie, Flash, Constantine, Daredevil, from last month. And I'm not exactly certain that those shows, as successful as they are going to reflect back in comic sales. Case in point, and this is an example that I've brought up a number of times on the show, and that is Doctor Who. Doctor Who has a very dedicated, large following.
Yes,
and
the Whovians.
Yes, and so if this is the case, and if they can't get enough Doctor Who narrative, and let's say that the comics are not retreads of the television stories, they're brand new stories. They're using the basis of the TV shows, but they're spinning off all new narratives.
Right.
So if they can't get enough Doctor Who, then why are sales of Doctor Who comics low to modest, let's say?
Well, I would think it's because why would you need to go spend money for a new Doctor Who story? Just wait a week, there'll be a new episode.
Well, for a while, but then after how many episodes, is it 10, 13 now that you have a season, you have to wait around. I mean, the last Doctor Who, I'm a big Doctor Who fan. My family and I watch it, on the first run on Saturday nights together on BBC America. And we have been without new Doctor Who's now, if you don't count that Christmas special, back in the fall. So we're going to have to wait around. Now, in the interim, you would think, if I need my Doctor Who fix, I'm going to get the new comics coming out from Titan, right? Because Titan not only has, they started with the 10th and 11th Doctor, but now we have the 12th and the 9th. So there's plenty of Doctor Who comics out there, but the sales just aren't there. There's enough there for them to continue doing this. Before IDW had it, now Titan has the property license. But I don't know. So I'm not convinced that as popular as a particular property is, whether it be something from the big boys like DC or Marvel, or smaller companies with properties like BBC and Doctor Who, that's not necessarily going to translate into sales, and that's unfortunate.
It is.
It is. But like you were saying, you were like, people go and see these movies and they see these shows. Why don't they buy the comics? Well, why don't you? You watch Doctor Who. Doctor Who's not out. Why do you buy Doctor Who comics?
Yeah, every now and again I will buy Doctor Who comics. However, I don't get them as I used to because I've had to cut costs. There's so many comics come out. There's only so many you can get, right? And I feel like I get too much as it is. But so I'm a comics buyer. So whether I'm getting one title or the other, it doesn't matter. I'm getting the comics. So that gets back to my larger point that you would think that with the success of these films and television shows, that the larger tide, let's say, or the level of comics buying would gradually increase. But I don't think that that's been the case over the past 2 or 3 years.
I think it also ties back to something that me and my friend discussed a while back, and that's that I can't think of another industry that is inherently tied to the place that sells it as comics. Comics are pretty much sold only by comic shops, and comic shops only sell comics. I mean, that's obviously not true in this extent because there's board games behind us and there's, there's action figures all over the place. But you don't generally go to like Walmart and see comics sitting in the checkout lines. They're just not there.
Not the individual single issues, no.
Right.
However, I mean, there are other places like Barnes & Noble, the brick-and-mortar stores. I know several of them are in this area do have certain comics, not near as many comics as you find in comic specialty shops. But
right.
It's branching out. It's like you said before, at Walmart and stuff, you wouldn't see comics there, but now they've got graphic novels in the book section. Now they've got how to draw and color your comic book heroes. What was it, Barnes & Nobles? They're selling graphic novels, and they're selling floppies, regular single issues over by the magazine stands. It's spreading. So we've seen a growth in that sense of more exposure. But as far as, like you said, with sales, to me, it's just like that movie is like that end bit. It's like, why go back and read the book? I just saw the movie. Why should I go? Because usually when you're reading a book, you're seeing it in your head. Your imagination is painting this whole big picture, and then you can't wait until some movie, director picks it up and turns it into a film. But rarely do you see a movie and be like, oh, I can't wait for that to turn into a book.
Yeah.
So they can add so much more depth to it. It never happens.
It also has something to do with the fact that most book adaptations of movies are just awful. I think comics, though, are unique in the fact that they're one of the few mediums that can have that backwards flow, because if you have a book and then somebody makes a movie of it, the story of the book and the movie are going to be pretty much identical. But comics don't do that. Comics have their own plots, their own stories, and the movies are adaptations of the stories. They're similar, but they're not the same thing. And then there's a lot of comic stories beyond what's picked up for the movies that you just don't ever see in movies. Sometimes those adaptations are really good, like the changes they made for the Avengers plot lines.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not so good, like X-Men 3. But we're not going there. We're not going there. Oh God, Dark Phoenix deserves so much better. But it's one of those things that I think people just don't really recognize that backwards travel is possible in comics, because they see the movies and they think, okay, I've seen the movie, I know the plot, I don't need the book.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. It's obviously not the whole thing, but I think it's at least part of it.
Yeah. No, I have to agree. They just, like I said, it's like you hit that dam, and then they're like, oh, I'm done. I've got it. Because I can't think of another medium besides movies where you can, get so much information in a short amount of time. I mean, one book, even a graphic novel can take you a couple of hours depending on the size. I mean, if I were to read all the Sin City books, it would take me at least a day.
Oh, God, yes.
But someone could probably do, if they made movies out of each one, they could probably get it done in 6 hours. So I don't know if it's because we process information so much quicker than we used to. I think now more than ever. I mean, now it's like you don't even have, like, if you look at old ads, it's like a picture and then there's like 10 paragraphs that tell you about this product.
Please no.
Now, I remember I saw a billboard and it's just the Nike Swish. That's it. There was nothing else. Not even a .com, just the Swish, because we know automatically just from that one image what that all means and what it all represents, given that's a lot of branding over years and years and years. But that's how fast we are now.
Yeah. And people recognize that you don't have a lot of time to grab somebody's attention. You've got about 5 seconds before if you don't catch their interest, they're gone. They're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So at least for that, you've got to be able to catch that interest and keep it with something, or get your message across in that 5 seconds.
Yeah. The average, I remember with websites, it's like 10 seconds. That's what you've got. When you have a website up, you have 10 seconds to get that person's attention and keep them at the site, or they're going to click over to something else. And so now when we've got comics and movies, people are like, hey, I want to see the special effects. I want to see all those CGI graphics and pay the enormous price for an IMAX 3D experience. How much is it for those now? Is it like $30 or something?
Something like that. it's
like
more than
a
it should. It's a lot, but
exactly,
watching Scarlet Witch blow stuff up in glorious 3D IMAX, it's like,
and you can't get that same feel with the comics. So to me, the comics, it still sticks with more the original people who were readers and fans from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I've seen that passed down. Like, I have a child. I'm getting her into comics. You got Scooby-Doo now and Strawberry Shortcake and all these other ones. So it's more just kind of just for
I
us.
mean the Strawberry Shortcake and Scooby-Doo comics.
Yes, yeah.
Which have actually been around for a while.
Yeah. And so it's you're able to kind of open that up there, and then sometimes you'll get some folks. Sometimes you'll get someone who sees a movie and is like, "Oh, I want to go find one of the original signed copies," like a collector kind of a motif.
Right.
But I haven't seen a lot. Like my wife. My wife loves the Marvel movies. She thinks they're awesome. Great, wants to go see them in theaters. Comics, she won't read a single friggin' one of them. And I've bought her some.
I think another problem that comics have, that movies don't have, is comics have an incredibly high barrier to entry. It is very hard to get into comics if you are not already into them. This is why people like Marvel... this is why people like DC did the New 52, and Marvel is about to do Secret Wars. Mm-hmm. It's because it's so difficult for somebody to go and start reading comics. Like, if you want to start reading X-Men, where do you start? X-Men started in the 60s.
Yeah, that's true.
There have been so many retcons. So much has happened. It's all carried through to the present day.
Okay, wait, see, here, I see what you're saying, and I would say that's right to a degree. But what you're doing is what, unfortunately, I think most people who aren't comic readers do, and that is equate superhero comics, primarily DC and Marvel, with comics as a whole, and that's not the case. So now I agree
figured we
with
were
you
still talking about the Avengers.
when it comes to superhero properties, especially from the big two. There is a large barrier to entry. Where do you jump in? I was talking with my daughter just this morning about this. She was a little excited after seeing the Avengers movie. I mean, she reads manga, and she's hardly read any American comics, but she wants to now. And also a good friend of hers who went with her to this movie is very much a Marvel fan.
She's me about 2 years ago.
So she is wanting to get into comics, and she was saying, how do I do so? I said, well, probably the best way is just to jump in and start swimming, and eventually you'll start learning who the characters are, a little bit of their backstory, rely partly on Wikipedia to play catch-up, but, there's a way of doing that. But let's say, for instance, that, you're not familiar with comics at all. There are many, many, many titles that you can just get into just like that. I mean, think of Image titles. Think of Dark Horse titles.
Right.
Yeah.
Think of any number of independent publishers that don't have that large back history,
right?
When it comes to certain characters. So it's very easy to get into comics.
Yeah. I think
depending on which comics.
Yeah, depending on which comics.
I think to help, like if you have someone who saw the movie and is like, oh, I want to see comics, where do I start? What I would probably do is like, okay, what movie did you see? Oh, I saw the Avengers or something. Okay, well, maybe you should start over here with like Secret Wars. You could direct them to where, like, the basis for the movie. Direct them to the comics that were the basis for that story. And then that, I think, is a place to help. But it's true, you could pick up any issue and start in the storyline and get interested enough to where, okay, I want to go to this one. Like, you could pick up a Batman comic. What's the new one? They have the Divergence one out. Yeah. And it's that just came out today. So there's this different storyline, like Batman's gone, and where is he? And now there's they've got like Jim Gordon putting on like this Iron Man Batman outfit, kind of thing. And so I'm like, you could even just start there and go through, and then can span from that one point. So you don't be intimidated by it, so to speak. Just be like, hey, you can start anywhere, and I guarantee you will find a storyline with some element that you will like that'll catch you and grab you in.
I think you said the magic word there. It's intimidating for people who have never done it. Mm-hmm. People just need to go do it, and I agree with that. But if you've never done it and you know that there is so much history and so much stuff, and you are one of those people who equate superheroes to comics, or more likely comics to superheroes, like only superhero comics are the comics that are there, just because they don't know, it can be very, very hard to go, all right, I'm going to spend a bunch of money so that I can possibly understand what's going on.
Well, that's why you have your local comic store.
Exactly.
So you can talk to a guy behind the counter and ask him, where the hell do I go?
And the Avengers movie came out at a really good time, or more likely Marvel planned it this way, because Secret Wars 3 is about to happen. Yeah, Secret Wars 3 is happening. It's
that
collapsing.
Mouse plans
it's collapsing all of the multiverse down into a single reality, from my understanding. Mm-hmm. This is, if you want to get into comics and you just saw the Avengers, this is your jumping on point. After Secret Wars is over, we are going to have one continuity. One
War Zero, and it's free comic book day. So if you go to your shop, you might actually be able to get one of these, because they usually have extras. But I mean, that right there is like you said, like there's a spot there, because Marvel and Disney have planned out Their movies. It's like, I mean, they have a list somewhere that's like, these are all the movies that we're going to be making for the next, 10, 15 years.
It's a big list. And I think the thing to note about that list is that it's not just major titles. It's not just the Avengers. It's not just Iron Man. They did Guardians of the Galaxy, and Guardians of the Galaxy is not a big comic. It's not. It was a small series. It only had 12 issues or something, I think?
Yeah, something like it was like Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider only had 10 issues when it first originally came out.
Yeah, and it still was incredibly successful, Guardians of the Galaxy was. So they've planned this out in such a way that they're trying to make it easy for people to get into comics.
I think that the best way, this is kind of a truth to it, but it's like, how can we get people to go from the movie back to the comics? How can we get that flow back? And this is how. Us, the comic readers, we have to tell people that oh, you saw that? Hey, guess what? You should read this. Go to the shop, pick up this issue, check this out. It's now up to us to try to help get that flow back there a little
bit. Tell your friends, tell Twitter, get your comic books.
Buy them, bring them some free ones, maybe even buy one for them for their birthday.
Well, this is where, coming back, something that you said, Hunter, is a second ago, is going to your local comic shop and ask for recommendations. And so here is another plug for Collected in Plano. I know that I've experienced this before, but also there's so many customers who have come in to talk with us for on-location shows and have commented on the fact that the store manager, Freddie, has gotten them hooked on a number of titles that they were aware of before. Now, more times than not with Freddie, it's going to be a horror title.
It's like a drug dealer, he's giving you all the good stuff here.
Yes. So he is recommending certain titles to them, and I think that's a great thing. So, for instance, someone coming in here and say, I like kind of unusual horror type comics. What might you recommend? Several months ago, Freddie, I know, recommended The Spread to certain people, and I think that that's a great title to start with. So that's one of those comics that you don't have to have any knowledge of any kind of comics history. You can just start reading, get into the story, and go from there.
Right, and there's a lot of those one-off stories where you have the comics. You don't need to know anything beforehand. You don't need to know anything afterhand. It's almost like a book or a movie. You don't need to have that 40 years of backstory. You just go and you read it. And that's also a really good place to come in. And by the way, if you don't like horror, that's fine. These people, even though Freddie has this preference for horror, he still reads a lot of other types of comics as well, and he can recommend adventure, he can recommend romance, he can recommend whatever you want to read.
Romance. Okay, I don't think that there are many romance titles being produced today.
This is true.
But I mean, there are some. I mean, if you go to the manga, they've got a Spider-Man's love story. It's like Mary Jane's point of view,
and that's that. And on the topic of romance, I do want to plug a comic that I think is wonderful. And this is both, it is and isn't new. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this or if you've read any issues, but Weird Love.
I have not heard of it.
This is published through IDW in conjunction with Yo Books, and a good friend of the show, Craig Yo, in fact, he's been on for interviews 4 times. He started this about 6-7 months ago. Oh, no, longer than that. And it's a semi-monthly, so it comes on every other month. And what he does is he goes through a lot of the older romance comics from the 50s, 60s, and 70s and picks out those stories that are a little unusual, especially within the context of today, our culture and our sensibility.
Right.
And he comes out with, every other month, a rather hefty issue called Weird Love. So, I mean, these were originally not written, I don't think, to be seen as funny, but the way that they occur now to us, there's something strange about it. So, for instance, there are stories where there's one in particular with a newlywed. They're on their wedding, and the woman in the story, according to the guy, gets a little uppity. So he takes her across his knee and starts spanking her. And she makes a comment, that's all I needed now, honey. You're the one who. And so
why doesn't that work in real life?
Yeah. So again, but there's something humorous
about that one.
So even though brand new love story type comics aren't being produced, at least in the way that they were several decades ago, you can still get romance comics through Craig Yo's Weird Love.
Right. I probably should have said mystery instead of romance, but I wasn't thinking properly.
There are a variety of genres out there. There's one of my favorite detective crime noir comics.
Yeah, you got westerns,
science fiction, fantasy. I mean, any
History.
genre you can think of
Although
is
not
out
very
there.
accurate.
So there's a lot besides the superhero, which people tend.
I think, like I said, I think it's just up to us. I think it's up to the comic readers.
Yeah.
Who it's like, if you have a family member that's into the show, hey, get them a comic. Like, hey, check this. And it's kind of funny. We mentioned this about the whole comic shop and everything else. Was that last month a guy came in and said that the new Daredevil show on Netflix, his daughter's into it, and he's like, "Do you have any of the Daredevil issues referenced to that series?" And it's Frank Miller's Daredevil, and sure enough. Here you go, sir. Here they are. And so it's like you can pick up the graphic novels and go through pretty much the source material that they're using right now for the show.
Speaking of Daredevil, I think somebody just showed up in a Daredevil costume. It's kind of awesome.
Oh, that's Craig. Craig appears on the show often. So, except he can see. Okay, I took a little break there because I had to replace the batteries in my portable recording device, but we're back, and not only are we back, but joining us is a whole crew who came in. Some are regulars, some are semi-regulars, and we even got a new person here. So Chris is still here with us. Hunter had to go. He was about to fall asleep. Maybe our conversation was what was...
I'm just super boring. What can I say?
But joining us, Laura, you haven't been on the show in a while, and I know because you had work.
Because you do it the days I can't come, yeah.
Yeah, well, glad to have you back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
And then, Matt, you have been a regular on the show for the past several months, so thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me on.
And then we have Matt Murdoch.
Yes.
A.K.A.
Just
Craig.
made my whole day. Yes.
So, and he is the one, I think you heard at the tail end of that earlier segment, is dressed as the new Daredevil.
From the Netflix series.
From Netflix,
Well,
and that's going to change later on.
Episode 13, right?
Right.
Yes.
Is that when the change? Yeah. Okay, so I've only seen the first two episodes
I'm sorry,
now.
you've all seen the promo shot of the show, right?
Yeah.
He's not wearing that.
Yeah, this is true. He is wearing the red mask.
Okay.
Anyways.
And then we have someone new joining us. So who are you? Would you care to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Billy, and I really normally just come here to play Magic.
But he's here for Free Comic Book Day, and we've corrupted him into getting some comics.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said you corrupted him into getting some comics instead of I've corrupted him into being on the podcast. Because I don't think of it as corruption. I think of it as
I
think of it as a privilege.
happy to
The
be
lines
involved.
begin to blur.
He doesn't know.
And then at the end of the table is Nick. Nick, you've kind of been like Laura. You haven't been on the show in a while,
you
so
haven't?
Yeah, I haven't been here for past about 3 months, so I've just been really busy with
Oh,
school
okay.
and working 2 jobs.
yeah, little things like that.
Yeah, like...
You're a new arrival.
I need that one.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
I'll take it.
now earlier we were talking about, among other things, the new Avengers film, and I'm sure that's something that
doing
several of
spoilers,
you
are we?
have seen that. And that can come up in our conversation, but I want to get into what I consider the nitty gritty of Free Comic Book Day, and that's the free comic books.
Yes.
So I have some of them here in front, and you guys have been looking through them. So I'm curious, when you guys came into the shop, which ones did you immediately gravitate toward, and which ones did you want or did you not know, and it was a interesting find, a surprise?
The Inhumans being in Spanish was a surprise.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't read in Spanish, so I'm not going to get to read the Inhumans one. That's okay. That's okay.
I have to admit, that was one of the first ones I gravitated to because I like the idea that it's in Spanish.
So is it only in Spanish, the Inhumans?
Yes.
It's only in Spanish, which is kind of amazing.
It's a cool idea, but I can't read Spanish.
Well, neither can I, but I still like it. I like that idea. I like
mean,
it. It's out there.
I guess you could do it in the same kind of way if any of you guys are Rocket Raccoon his comics fans. They had an entire episode where Groot was telling a story,
Yes.
and it was all all in
I am Groot. Yes.
So I guess you could think of it kind of like that, except there's actual content that you're kind of missing. But you can look at it through the picture medium.
Well, it's also what they did for Spider-Verse. One of the little things they actually had
I didn't read that one.
Mexican Spider-Man that it was all in Spanish.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
Yeah, it was. The art for that particular issue was fantastic.
yeah.
Just lots of reds and purples.
But I think it's cool that it's in Spanish anyway. So if you were a Spanish-speaking person or could read Spanish, I like that. In fact, it's out there that now Free Comic Book Day is trying to include everyone, or at least more people, anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's okay. So what other Free Comic Book Day titles?
One that I really I picked up the Fight Club. The free comic book, and I'm kind of looking forward to that one, or hopeful for that one.
In fact, I had gotten that earlier, and I did read that one. If I would guess that it is at least a partial reprint, or the first part of issue number 1. Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know for a fact.
I don't know either. I haven't read it yet, but I'm kind of
thinking the
hopeful
Savage Dragon one is too.
Yeah, and this is interesting. I was thinking as I was going through some of the Free Comic Book Day books that I had gotten earlier this morning, because I went to a couple shops here and then their competition down the road.
Right.
And then I went home over lunch, read some of them, and then came back out here to record. One of the things I notice is the different ways, and we've talked about this for the past few years, the different ways that publishers choose to present themselves on Free Comic Book Day. Some will reprint something that is coming out right about the same time. Okay, so you could get issue number 1 of Fight Club, or you could get the Dark Horse Free Comic Book Day, or one of their titles, and read at least the first part of issue number 1 to introduce you to it. So then you may feel impelled to go and get issue number 1.
It's just kind of a cool idea.
It's a cool idea. I mean, for me, an even cooler idea is when you have a title, and I know that Red 5, even though this year there's nothing in there about Atomic Robo, that they used to do this, they would have brand new Atomic Robo stories that you can't find in other issues of Atomic Robo. Or if you do get them in Atomic Robo titles, you'd have to wait till the trade collections come out. So they would have the regular run in addition to the Free Comic Book Day stories.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's another strategy. Another strategy for Free Comic Book Day is to, and I know that there's some companies that do this, they have a single issue. Oh, what was it from a few years ago? Was it Oni or IDW that did Bad Medicine? And it was just that single issue for Free Comic Book Day. And I think it was the exact same thing as issue number 1 of Bad Medicine. It was just double dipping, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But then there are other titles where you will get little glimpses that aren't really comics, but just a bit of information and backstory that kind of tease you into getting it. So you don't have the comics.
Issues?
Well,
Is that what you're talking about?
No, they're not comics at all.
They're
it's more prose than anything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember those books. Yeah, they used to tease you what's coming up.
They still do. In fact, I don't have here, but if you check the Legendary, right, that was a disappointment to me, because I like a couple of things Legendary's doing right now. And they do have the comics, but it's the comics without the word balloons. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, no, I didn't even pick it up after I saw that it wasn't, an actual comic. It was just little bits. I put it back. I was like, So.
Right. So...
that depressed me.
And I know that there are a number of stories in there in this issue of Legendary's Free Comic Book Day issue that they want to hawk, right? So they're telling you a little bit about a lot, but in the process of doing that, they're not giving you much of anything outside of visual teasers.
Yep.
You do get the art, but there's nothing much in addition to that.
I can see why that can be somewhat disappointing.
Art's gorgeous, but you kind of want the story to go with it.
Yeah.
You want to feel like you've gotten a complete package.
Yeah, I think on Free Comic Book Day, you would feel like you would like to get a comic, of some sense, instead of just bits and pieces of lots of different comics.
It's almost kind of that same feeling that you get when a video game comes out with a bunch of DLC. It's like, I don't want to get a little bit of it and then have to pay you even more for the rest.
Right.
Which is kind of what this feels like. It's like, you've given me the art, but now you want me to pay for the story.
I
can see why that would be a little upsetting.
Right. There's some, though, that have stories that are specific to Free Comic Book Day and the issue that they're in for Free Comic Book Day. I can speak, really. And case in point, one of my favorites so far that I've read is the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund Free Comic Book Day issue. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
I didn't see that.
No. In fact, I highly recommend it. The very first story. How many of you have read Gene Yang and Sunny Lu's Shadow Hero?
I have.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, a brand new short Green Turtle story
one now.
in legal. Yeah, well, they have.
Oh, did they still have it? Oh, that's fantastic! I love that story.
And in fact, most, not all, of the comics in the CBLDF issue have everything to do with what the CBLDF is all about.
Oh, that's fantastic!
And that is freedom of speech and the defense of reading. In fact, even the Archie story in here. And it's a brand new Archie story. At least I think it's because I'm not a dedicated Archie reader. Specific to this issue, and the setup of the Archie story is that Kevin Keller, he's the gay character in Archie. He's in the library. And Veronica comes in and says, "Hey, Kevin, what are you doing here in the library?" And of course, his response is, a better question is, what are you doing in the library? And so they eventually get around to the librarian points out that there is a book, a comic actually, that Kevin is mentioned in called Out and About. And it's about stories about coming out of the closet. And so this is on the library shelves in the graphic novel section. And then a concerned citizen is in the library and says, this book is not appropriate for young teens. And the librarian responds, "There's no salacious content here." And then the woman says, "You're pushing an agenda. Now I have a problem with you people." And so then it goes before the community, and she and a few other conservative, probably Tea Party elements, are saying, "Hey, this does not belong on our shelves, influencing our kids." And the city council, of course, this has a happy ending because the city council says, no, it's fine. On a vote, 5-2, they say that they can stay on the shelf, and then it ends with Kevin saying, "We have to get to the other two out there." So anyway, I mean, there's stories for the most part that are specific to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund and what they do.
This is fantastic.
This is a wonderful first issue, if for no other reason, because of Yang and Lu's new story. In fact, I correspond with Sunny Lu on a regular basis, semi-regular basis, and on Facebook I messaged him after I read this and said, "Hey, just read your Free Comic Book Day story. Well done."
That's fantastic.
So that's one of my
Put
favorites.
that in my stack.
So what are some other favorites of Free Comic Book Day for you guys?
I don't know if I'd say it's a favorite, but it caught my eye because there was apparently a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure comic, and I happen to know that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a manga, and I was kind of surprised to see it there, and it is. I'm not exactly sure what to call it because it's not the size of a manga. It's the size of a normal comic book. It's probably about 36 pages, but it reads right to left, and the inner pages are the manga style art on manga paper. So that kind of surprised me that was there.
Well, I mean, manga publishers also participate in Free Comic Book Day. There's a Viz Media book somewhere. I don't know where, but there's a Viz Media. That was the Viz. Okay, the Viz. There you go. But then there are others as well that I've seen. So both now and in the past.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. And you're right, it's not in the size of the manga. Actually, there is one, I can't remember the publisher of Attack on Titans, and I don't know if this store has any of those. I did see them.
We do have there's Attack on Titans over there.
No, the Attack on Titan Free Comic Book Day book.
No, I didn't see that one.
It is manga, kind of, paperback book, manga size, I guess you could call it, is what Chris is referring to. That is Attack on Titan, and it has the Free Comic Book Day logo on it.
Oh, neat.
So I haven't seen any here, but I saw it over at the competition.
Okay. That's neat.
Manga publishers do participate in Free Comic Book Day.
That's interesting. That just kind of surprised me. I know that I consider them relatively similar, but I also know that a lot of people consider them like two different things. So I don't know why that surprised me so much, but it did.
What you consider what two different things?
Comic books and manga.
Okay, this is interesting because. Okay, I know that you've said, Chris, that you listen to the podcast every now and again. Listen to recent shows. We just started, in fact, this past week a brand new monthly feature, and that is a show dedicated exclusively to manga. Yes. It's the Comics Alternative Manga. And right now, Shay Henham, who is, usually here on on-location shows, and that's how I met him, these on-location shows. And I know you guys are laughing. He is a character, definitely. But this show is giving him an opportunity to shine in his element, because this is a manga guy.
Oh, yeah.
And,
and we really does love that.
Yeah, and we thought that this would be a great opportunity to force me to read more manga. I mean, I read some, but not enough. So I thought it made sense having Shay on the show. So anyway, we're going to be looking at manga every month, and one of the first issues that we addressed on our inaugural episode is defining manga. And when it comes right down to it, manga means comics in Japanese.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Now, at the same time, it's also a little something different, because there is, in a very loose way, very, very loose way, a discernible style. Mm-hmm. Some people may think of manga as a genre. No, it's comics and comics as a medium. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But I don't see manga as different from comics. It's Japanese.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just know that a lot of people don't see it that way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's saddening, but it's true.
So, break down those barriers between manga and regular American comics reading.
Do you use a manga show on site here?
No. That's one that we do from our quote-unquote studio, basically our homes.
Disappointing. Oh, well.
You can listen.
Well, no, our on-location shows, you can come in and talk about manga.
We're open. We'll let you talk about anything.
Oh, yeah. Although sometimes we do have themed shows, and we try to stay on theme. Many times we don't, but,
like right now.
Staying on topic, what are we talking about there?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think we've stayed fairly well on topic, at least on this segment, and that is the Free Comic Book Day issues, because you had mentioned, Chris, the manga there. So there you go.
Okay, there was another free comic book that I was super excited when I saw it, and it was the Stuff of Legends one.
The Stuff of Legends?
Yes, it's real. I don't know. It's a really cute story, and it's a graphic novel. It's not a comic book, but
that's the one about the teddy bears and the toy chest.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I did read that one. I did read that one. Yeah, who's the publisher on that?
It's in my bag.
But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of that, and I've read the first couple books, and it was just nice to see something supplementary for that, because it's really fun, and it's kind of it's a little creepy too, but it's a good one. I'm ruffling through my bag quietly. There it is.
Do you have the mutant one in there as well?
Yes,
it's Third World Studios. Yes, Third World. In fact, this is one of those, and a lot of these Free Comic Book Day issues are like this, right? Mm-hmm. And I think this one may be inverted, where you turn it upside
there's a
down.
Second one on
and they're basically two parts, or two halves there.
Yes.
And some are in two halves, but you don't necessarily have to turn it upside down to get
the You do have to do it with this one.
This one,
yes.
Kind of like with the. I guess the Secret Wars one, where how they have the little insert for Attack on Titan inside of it.
Okay. See, I haven't had the chance to see that.
Okay, yeah, they've got it inside there. It's like a little 2 or 3 pages of it's Attack on Titan versus Avengers or something like that. I want to say.
Yeah.
It was made specifically in
This is another one that
Japan.
doesn't have any dialogue in it, but it has a narrative at the bottom.
Somewhere.
And it's a preview for the next.
So the Attack on Titan Avengers one was one they did in Japan last year, and have released that version over here in the United States.
Not too long ago.
Not too long ago, but specifically for Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorites, and this is another one of those that even though you don't have to turn it upside down to see the second half, is made up of 2 individual stories, and that is this year's publication, or at least one of them. I can't remember if they have 2 from Fantagraphics. I don't know if there are any other Fantagraphics fans here at this table, but the first part of the book is Hip Hop Family Tree, and not only do you get a little bit of what's going to be in the 3rd volume of Hip Hop Family Tree, which comes out, I think, later this summer. But you also get 2 or 3 pages of the first and then 2 or 3 pages of the second volume that are already out. But then the last part of the Fantagraphics Free Comic Book Day issue is, it may be a new story from Dash Shaw, his series Cosplay. Mm-hmm. Is it Cosplay or Cosplayer? I can't remember. Maybe you can grab the issue back there if they have it.
Let me see if there's another one.
But it's a wonderful story. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the On Location shows before, but Dash Shaw has a series that began about, a little over a year ago, and I think 2 issues have come out so far. Cosplayer, that's it, Cosplayer. And it's about cosplayers.
Nice.
Part of it is, I think, an homage to cosplaying, and the other part of it may be a little satire.
Yeah.
But it's a good story, and if you're not familiar with Dash Shaw's work, then you should. He's one of these, I guess you would call him more an alternative or independent creators that you really won't find at the big two.
Right.
So anyway, those are some of my favorites.
They just kind of kept it around.
What else? The Tick had its Free Comic Book Day,
yeah.
and I just love him because he makes fun of superheroes, he makes fun of comic books, he's just funny.
The Tick is glorious.
Yes, and especially since he's yelling out "spoon" in the middle of the cover. And
what else would you expect him to do?
Exactly. He's just a funny book. So if you like humor and silliness, then The Tick is definitely for you. So.
Yeah, I'm not a big comic book reader, but I came in and I saw The Tick, and I'm like, oh, that's something that's familiar to me, so that kind of got me into this little...
So, Billy, how are you familiar with The Tick if you don't read the comics?
I saw the animated series back when it was out, and I was really on board with that. I thought it was really funny. It's one of those things that made fun of itself, similar to Freakazoid. So I enjoyed it. Saw a comic, decided I'd pick it up.
Because I'm the same way. I mean, I haven't read any Tick comics. I mean, I'm aware that they're out there, but my experience with the Tick, and this is years ago, I think this is in the early days of Comedy Central, they used to run the cartoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's when that's how I became familiar with the Tick. And it was funny. I did not watch the live-action show.
Oh, the live-action show was so terrible, it was great. I've actually heard that from a lot of people whenever the Tick comes up. It's not so much, oh, yeah, I'm a fan of the comic. It's, oh, yeah, I'm a fan of the cartoon. And it's like... I don't know what that says about the Tick and the Tick's comics, but people seem to know about it even if they don't know that it's a comic.
I feel it's the same way with like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Most people say
it's true.
that I like the animation, but they get interested. Yeah, Teen Titans, but they get interested in the comics because, or at least I noticed that when they come out on Free Comic Book Day or they're just coming in with their parents, they're like, "Hey, I've seen this on TV. I want to pick it up and see what it's like."
It's
on
free as well.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that gets back to something we were talking about earlier in the previous segment, and that is, do films and TV shows bring people to comics? And I really don't think that...
Well, I don't know. I guess you could debate it either which way. I mean, like my nephews, they watch, the cartoons on it, and then they beg me for... Well, they don't beg me. I bring the comic books to them. And notice, like, look, if you like what's on TV, you're going to love these comic books on stuff like that. And they do. They love, all of that stuff. They love the Scooby-Doo, stuff like that. And I noticed there's some other people that will come in there and they're like, hey, I've seen it on TV, at least try it. And whether or not that brings them back in, I don't know. But at least they try it one time. So.
Both DC and Marvel used to be so scared.
But,
So, the rest of you, I mean, have you had time to go through any of the free comic books? Because I've only had time to go through some of them.
I haven't had time to read any, but I saw the Bob's Burgers one and I picked that up.
Yeah, I picked up that one as well.
Those first 5 issues that they came out with for Volume 1 were fantastic. It's great comedy. Yeah, I came here knowing which comic I was absolutely 100% going to grab. We'll get to that one later. But I found some other ones that are like, I should really grab that. And one that I ended up actually grabbing was the all new, all different Avengers, which was something I had heard about, but wasn't entirely certain what was going on in it. And I flip it open, and the first page is a single splash page Iron Man and Lady Thor, but it's also got Nova, Spider-Man, I think it's the Miles Morales Spider-Man,
Yep.
and G. Willow Wilson's Miss Marvel, who is one of the few comics I'm actively reading right now, and it's just Miss Marvel with her fists in the sky going, Avengers Assemble, and Spider-Man's like, are we allowed to say that yet? And she's like, I've been waiting all my life to, and it's like, I want to read this
That's
now
funny.
because of that one splash page, and I am very excited because it's where Marvel is apparently going to be going with the Avengers, and I have sold out and ran out of words. Somebody save me.
I don't know if that's where they're going with the Avengers, but it wouldn't make me mad if they did. 'Cause
Exactly.
It's
G. Willow Wilson's amazing. By the way.
yeah. So.
Well, she, her Miss Marvel got quite a bit of love at this past week's, last week's announcement of the 2015 Eisner Awards.
It did.
Good,
And
good. It's a great
well
comic.
deserved because
Yeah,
it's a really
it's
great,
a great comic.
And in fact, did you guys pay attention to the nominations of the Eisners this year?
I
haven't seen them
I don't even know what they are.
Comic book award.
Oh my god. Okay. So
the
that's
Academy Awards of
It's the Academy
Comics.
Awards of comic books that they'll announce at San Diego Comic Con,
Okay.
and all the winners will be announced there. Right now, they're just saying all the nominations for best writer, best artist, etc., etc.
It's probably the biggest, but it's by far not the only important award.
No.
They're the Inkpot Awards. They're the Harveys, named after Harvey Kurtzman, and then there are a variety of others as well. But the Eisners are the biggie, and especially because it's linked to San Diego.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
So there's that.
Right.
And in fact, again, hawking what we do on the podcast, just yesterday we put up our special, as we have for the past several years, devoted exclusively to a discussion of the nominees for this year's Eisner Award. So, in fact, Andy and I talked with Tom Spurgeon, who is the guy who runs the Comics Reporter. If you're familiar with that website, we had him, and he's an Eisner winner himself. So we had him on the show. We were talking about the various categories, and one of the things we noticed this year, in fact, both Andy and I did highlight this, is the fact that there seems to be more of a presence of DC and Marvel in terms of the nominees, especially their superhero titles. So you have, the Miss Marvel. I think one or two Spider-Man, or at least creators surrounding Spider-Man, were nominated as well. And then Grant Morrison's Multiversity,
Of course.
got quite a bit of attention there. So this is a little different because I know in the past several years, several people have, or a number of people have lamented the fact that, my titles that I
Awards.
read, and who knows? There were also nominated Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples and Saga, of course.
Yep.
Now, the past couple of years, they've got a number of wins. Are they going to do that this year? Who knows?
Hopefully not.
Just because you don't like Saga doesn't mean some of us don't really like Saga.
You don't like Saga? Nick, by the way, is saying that. So, lovers
Nick
of
doesn't
Saga
like
listen to this
Saga.
podcast.
I have no problem with saying that. Saga just...
So Freddie doesn't like him either.
Freddie had an issue with the first issue, I believe, was his problem.
Well, I think his issue is
Prince Robot. He didn't like that.
Is robot sex, right?
Yes.
Did we talk about that on a previous
Yes, we
show?
did.
Okay.
Yeah, that
He
makes
did.
sense.
He does not like Prince Robot.
Okay, so that's a psychological issue I can excuse. But what is your problem, Nick?
First two volumes were really good, and about volume 3 and past, I started to lose interest. I don't know. It felt like it wasn't moving fast enough for me. I don't know.
It's heart-wrenchingly slow. I will agree, but
Yeah.
they've dramatically timed it right. I will say that.
Heart-wrenchingly slow, you think so?
Well, no, just because you get all these little peaks, and then she's like, but I'm not going to see my dad for a few more years, and I'm like, oh no, why you not see? I don't know. It's just they just have periods of separation. Again, dramatically timed very well, but it's not slow paced, but it is. They draw out the drama of it, and which makes it a good book in my opinion. But yeah. If you don't like that, then you probably would think it's slow paced. I agree with that.
Yeah, I had my heart broken enough this week.
That's true. We did. We did. Alex and Ada. It hurt us. It hurt us emotionally.
Now, I'm behind by several months.
We won't tell you. It hurt us emotionally.
I almost cried a little bit.
It was really bad.
Okay, I don't want spoilers,
We're not
but at the
going to
same
say
time,
anything.
I'm curious.
You just read it then.
Okay. I'll have to get caught up.
And then at the end, they're like, the conclusion next month. And I'm like, So just
The
very
conclusion
sad.
to the arc or the series?
The series, I believe.
The series is
15
wrapping up?
issues, I believe.
so.
I thought it was going to last longer than that.
That's what I thought too, but after this last
I don't
issue,
see how. And I mean, I could see how, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Without
just read it and we'll talk
spoiling
about it.
Yeah. We don't
I don't
want
wanna
to spoil it for you.
Okay.
It'll make you feel things.
Because I'll be back for the regular on location show in a couple of weeks. I think the 13th, whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll try to read and get caught up with Alex and Ada by that
And
time.
you can feel things with us. Yeah.
Wow.
It was sad.
I can feel things.
Wait to make it weird.
No!
Weird place now.
Emotionally. Gosh, you guys. What's wrong with you?
We're all
Oh God, you have to ask.
Emotional feelings. It
Do you
was
want
sad.
the long list or the short
Any
list?
of you that read Alex and Ada know what we're talking about, and just, there it is. It was sad. But yeah, back to Free Comic Book Day.
Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
What should we do on the other side of this?
Okay, so we were
And the
talking
Legion of
about
Doom shows
Image
up, 'cause
titles.
why not?
Savage
Image,
Dragon! I picked that up.
Image. Do they have a second
Nice.
book for Free Comic Book Day, or is it only the Savage
Just that
Dragon?
one, I think.
I think it was just
The only one I
Savage
saw
Dragon.
was Savage Dragon. So
Okay, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, not
That's
that
just-
I
Not
don't
that
read
Image
Savage
didn't-
Dragon, but I mean,
But
it
Image
is
didn't
one of
have other
their
ones.
flagship titles.
I have the first trade, and I really just want to get into it and read it as soon as I get current on my other series that I'm working on. That is definitely one that's on the shelf and ready to go. Because that one's like at over 200 issues now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this along with Spawn are some of the original properties of Image, and they're not. It's not the Image that I tend to gravitate toward, but it is an image that a lot of people have a connection to.
Sure.
The original titles, when these guys left Marvel and started their own thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I
That
did.
was best pronunciation.
Well, and I want it on the record that I'm also super happy that Invincible is now being published every month on schedule. Last year was awful, because it was published.
That's right. You shared with us before that you're a big Invincible fan.
Yeah, it was like maybe you'd get an issue every 3 months, but they wouldn't tell you when it was coming out.
Or
This year,
they
so
would tell you it's coming out this month,
and then it
it's
wouldn't
for 2 months.
Right. So this year we have had an issue every single month, and it has made me very happy.
Kirkman's made me happy.
Yes, good job, Kirkman. We like Invincible.
Well, it's not as if Kirkman has a lot of time on his hands, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, but still, this was. I think didn't he start this comic before he started Walking Dead?
Yes.
He did.
I believe he did.
Yeah, he needs to show it some more love.
I think he did. Well,
I don't know.
I think so.
They might have started at about the exact same time, maybe like a month or two apart.
Okay, but yeah. Anyways,
But the
so that's
difference
been
is
making me
that
happy.
Walking Dead is a TV show that
Whatever.
really caught on.
I don't care. Invincible's a better comic.
I mean, isn't the TV show going in a different direction than the comics now? Or, I mean, hasn't it always, or
Not really always.
To a point.
yeah.
I mean, there are moments of
Their artistic
convergence.
creativity.
There are moments of convergence between the comic and the TV show, their storylines, and then there are moments when they diverge. So, one can be appreciated without the other.
Yeah.
I mean, when I watch it with my wife, The Walking Dead, now she doesn't read the comic, but she keeps saying that she wants to, but I don't think she started yet. But she does watch the TV show. And I will not tell her, for the most part, things that go on in the comic because it may be a spoiler for the TV show. So every now and again, when she really likes Glenn, the character Glenn on the TV show, so every now and again she'll look at me and say, "Now, is he dead?" I say, "I'm not going to say anything."
I was
It's a
saying,
comic.
don't spoil.
Don't spoil that.
Yeah.
Although that issue number 100 has been out for quite a while.
That's true. That is very fair.
So is it a spoiler if it's been out there for so long?
For somebody that doesn't read the comic book, it would be.
yes.
Oh yeah, it definitely would.
would.
Well, it's too bad.
That was a
Maybe they
punch
should get.
Well, thanks for spoiling it for me. I personally appreciate that.
We're always there for you.
Everybody dies forever and ever.
I think you also. Oh, never mind. I was just going to bring up the Telltale Games version of it as well, but it's not important for the
Well, I
conversation.
mean, you see, this is when you have a successful property. I mean, it can go in any number of directions. So you could have, a game or games plural have different narrative arcs that have nothing in common with the original source, which could be a television show or a comic in this case with The Walking Dead. Or the television show go in sometimes different, sometimes somewhat similar directions as the comic.
Right.
But that's kind of what I like about the television series and the comic book, that you don't have to read the comic book to appreciate The Walking Dead on the TV show, and the fact that even if you do appreciate the comic book, it has separated itself enough from the comic book that you're like, I can. It's new and something different, kind of like what Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
is
I was going to
doing.
say it's exactly the same thing as Game of Thrones, and it's completely. They're completely diverging from the books,
and I
it's
find
a different
that
thing.
really kind of nice and refreshing. That I'm like,
because you don't have
finally
to.
now I'm kind of
everything's
looking
not
at it
spoiled by the books for you. Yeah,
it's.
Used to
Before
get
it
to be
was like,
surprised.
I had to be really quiet because I've read the books, and with people that would come to my house to watch it, I'd like make certain that I don't spoil it for them. But now I can watch it with them and get excited about it because they're going a completely different direction.
Plus, it's more story. It's extended universe at this point. It's something new that is still official. It's great. It's not just the same story over and over again.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, I'm someone who I have not read any of the Game of Thrones books. I have
started
not.
one.
I think I've seen the first 3 episodes, the first season of Game of Thrones.
And you stopped?
And it's not because I didn't like it. It's for lack of time.
Okay.
I mean, there are a lot of other things that I watch that I need to. I mean, I just finished last night not only the last episode of the most recent season, but the final episode of the entire series, Boardwalk Empire. I finally have now seen all of it. But, it takes me time to get... I've only seen the first 2 Daredevils.
Oh my gosh, you need to get on that.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
The first 2 are
How many
really,
times do
really
we have to tell you, Derek?
It's so good. It's so good.
By the way, if anybody out there listening hasn't seen it, go watch it.
It's fantastic.
It's really good. Yep, that was a very good one. I finished that and I went, wow, Marvel can make a really good television show.
Well, you don't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Oh, it's fine. It is fine. This is a totally different level.
Okay.
A totally different level.
Yeah. See, I've heard a lot of people raving about Daredevil, and I did not. Okay, granted, I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I think they're good, but it didn't bowl me over the way that some people have been bowled over. So I will be bowled over if I continue watching.
I can say that. I think I can say this without spoilers. This was the best, I think, portrayal of a villain that wasn't really villainous.
That's true.
It's the internal struggle that the main villain has throughout this.
Is he Kingpin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I
haven't seen him yet.
He is so humanized in it, but he's still bad. But I mean, like there were points where I felt so bad for this guy.
Yeah.
Even though he was sitting there doing all this horrible stuff.
Now, who's the actor who plays?
It's the
Kingpin?
guy that was.
He was on Law and Order.
He was in.
Special
No,
Agent.
he was. He was in. Yeah, he was.
Criminal
but
Intent.
Criminal Intent.
He was in that, but he was in Full Metal Jacket.
Oh yeah, he was the guy who played Gomer Pyle.
Yes, he was Gomer Pyles. Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but
He is fantastic.
He did such a great job.
he's so good. I haven't seen a villain like this in a while.
Yeah,
Villains are generally like, I'm going to twirl my mustache and laugh
Yeah,
evilly.
he
and
was so realistic.
Yeah,
It was
Twirl my
fantastic.
mustache and laugh evilly.
have you never seen Styling with?
Yes, I have, but I mean,
Yeah.
how many
But I mean,
villains
there's
have mustaches now?
It comes all shapes and sizes,
Yeah.
but it's
But
essentially
this
the
was
same
just,
thing.
and I mean, there's so many shades of gray in this
Yes.
about who is good and who is bad, and what it means to be good and what it means to be a savior for the city. Because just looking at the point of view of Fisk versus Murdoch,
Right.
they're both trying to do the same thing, but they have radically different ideas of how to do it, and it's just really interesting.
We don't say. Oh, Sorry, we don't say his name.
Yeah. They stopped doing that halfway.
And by the
through
way,
show.
don't speak that loudly into the microphone. You just popped my eardrum there.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, it's such a good and the story's amazing as well, and the character development is great. But just that dynamic of, I mean, you can watch this guy for half of the show and just be like, I really feel bad for this guy. Like, I feel for him. I want him to succeed. And then 2 seconds later, he does something, and you're like, oh man, that was really bad.
Yeah, the episode,
Yes.
his backstory episode is really,
Oh my gosh,
really
it's
intense.
fantastic.
I'm 2 episodes away from that. No spoilers.
So yeah, watch it. It's really good. It's really good.
Can't recommend it highly
And
enough.
apparently they're doing a second season of it.
They
so
are.
Yeah, they are.
Awesome.
And there's been rumors of.
And if they
we were
made a
talking to
movie from
Craig
that
about it,
cast with that cast and with that story, I would totally see that. Easy money for that.
I don't know who the actor is, but I like the one. I like the way that Foggy is played.
Yeah, he's
because
really good.
Yeah, that's someone who could come across as almost a little too bumbling.
Yes.
No, he did a good job.
Yeah,
He did a great job,
really
and I
good
really
job.
liked the girl that played the secretary for.
Oh my gosh,
Karen.
yes.
Yeah, Karen.
And I was
because in
sitting
the
there-
comic books, Karen was just the damsel in distress. She was always just.
And
kind
she's
of
really not.
And
I
in
think
the
at one
TV was
point-
really, really great. In the
Yeah.
fact that they made her an actual real character. She wasn't.
They did.
Just a damsel in distress. That she wanted to do the right thing. She became a real character.
Eldon Henson was the guy that played Foggy.
And,
So
Super
the,
good.
the actor.
Yes. Very good.
Can we take a moment and appreciate the choreography of the fight scenes?
Yeah, that was great too.
Yes.
Very good.
That was the first thing I heard about the series. Was the fight scenes are very well choreographed.
They
And when
are.
I watched it, I'm like, wow, they weren't kidding.
I will say they were, and there were even parts of, and you guys know how adverse I am to gore factor stuff, but there were parts of the show that were extremely brutal, but it worked for the show, and that's what it needed.
Yeah.
And I was totally okay with it. So that's a situation where
the
I'm
second
okay with
episode in particular,
Whoa,
when they're on the roof.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Yeah,
See,
that
that's
was-
the last one that I've seen. And I have to say, I've never been one for extended fight scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're going to have something like that, have it for a purpose. And I can see the purpose here in the way that you. Who was it that
Yeah.
used the word choreographed? Yes, Chris. I mean, that makes sense to me, right? Because it's something almost like a dance. But there were times in watching those first 2 episodes, and the second one in particular, I thought, okay, you know, do we need all of this? Can we not condense the fight down a bit? But then again, those who do see this as something like a dance may think, okay, well, you do need that because there's this performance.
And it shows that he's very human in the series. He's
Yeah.
exhausted.
Yeah, he
you know,
gets
he's
beat
already
up.
been beat up. He's bloody. He
Yeah.
just came from getting patched up, and he's still going to go save this kid.
Yeah.
And it shows his devotion, and you know,
And he's panting and he's tired. He's
Oh, yeah.
bent over. Yeah, he's not just like, "Hello, I'm here."
Yeah, that was. I noticed that in the first episode and the second episode, specifically when I was watching them. It's like he's barely on his feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't get up. He's stumbling. He's breathing hard. You never see that.
Yeah.
In these types of shows, it's
Yeah.
always I'm gonna beat the heck out of somebody.
And I'm gonna maybe have a bloody lip, and that'll be it.
and not
Yeah.
break a sweat ever.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Oh, you'll get to see plenty more of that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah, if you can't tell, we highly recommend it.
I can tell.
Very good show.
Well, on this show, I think we started off by talking about the new Avengers movie. This is before you guys got here, and that led us into a discussion of different media and comics. We talked about the free comic books. We talked about television, among other things that you may be reading and watching right now. Does anyone here have, let's say, a burning desire about any comics-related topic that they would like to bring up before we begin wrapping up?
I don't think so. I mean, besides, we urge people to go watch Daredevil and watch the Avengers movie. Hopefully, when you guys discussed it, it was, spoiler free as much as possible.
Oh yes.
It was.
Okay.
And by the way, we should point out that you were not being paid by the Disney Corporation.
No.
Of course,
Yeah,
right?
no.
No.
And as always, go out to your local comic book store and get more comics. Whatever you like, just get more comics.
Exactly.
Yes.
All the support always helps. And then I guess the last thing, even though I know we mentioned it, is if you want to find a jumping on point for Marvel, now's a good time. Secret Wars is just about to start, and this is pretty much timed with the movies, so that if you're not a fan of comics now, it will make a really good jumping on point.
It's the pre-reboot of the series, so yeah.
I want to say I'm very upset that they're rebooting it right now when all these good books are out. I think
no
it's a
one's
shame.
talking about DC and Convergence.
No,
we're not allowed. We're not going to.
Nobody cares about Convergence.
I'm sorry, DC's not.
No love
DC's not
whatsoever.
DC's not making the good books right now.
I'll say it's Death by Volcano.
Death by Volcano.
I was one of those people that wanted to like DC more than Marvel because I was always a fan of Superman and stuff like that. And I started reading the books, and Marvel just has the better books right now.
Marvel just has the better books, and they've timed it better too. They've got their movies.
But they're going to remove all of their books with Secret Wars.
They're removing them. I kind of view that as removing them so that they can start bringing new ones in. There are some really good ones. I'm sad things like Storm and Magneto are going away in particular. I enjoy those.
Miss Marvel going away. The new Thor, love her. Well, going away.
The Avengers one that I was saying, it big right on the thing. Special peek into the future of the new Marvel universe.
Okay, well if they keep
Lady Thor right there on the.
Okay, good.
What's going to happen?
Say, as far as I know, Miss Marvel's going to keep her own book.
Right. Good. Okay. Good.
And don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
They've already stated that most of the Marvel comics that are stopping for Secret Wars are going to continue afterwards.
Okay.
You're just going as slightly affected, maybe? I'm not completely sure. So, but if you do get a chance to read Conversions at all, read issue 0. It's got the best well-deserved death scene ever that I've ever. Death by Volcano. I mean, if you get a chance to just flip through it, then flip through it for that at least.
There you go.
That's as much love as I'm going to throw out there for DC.
And if you want to see the comics that these guys are referring to, you can go to your local comic shop. And if you are in the Plano, Texas area or the North Dallas area, then you can definitely come to Collected Comics and Games in Plano. They're located at 3100 Independence Parkway. That's on the corner of Independence and Parker. These guys know their comics. They will treat you right. Come out and talk with them. Share some love with them, won't you? Mm-hmm. And then after you do get your comics, whether it be at Collected Comics and Games in Plano or your local shop, wherever you are located, then get in touch with us at the Comics Alternative and let us know the kind of things that you're going to be reading. DC, Marvel, Independent, Alternative, what have you. You can get in touch with us by going to the website, and there you will find on the right-hand side of your browser a little tab that says Record Message. If you click on that from the comfort of your own computer or mobile device, you can leave a message. It's very easy, very simple, through the wonders of SpeakPipe. Or you can give us a call the old-fashioned way. Our phone number is 415-3-COMICS. That is 415-326-6427. You can email us, as several of you do. We appreciate that. We're two guys at comicsalternative.com. You can get in touch with me individually. My email is derek@comicsalternative.com. You can also get in touch with us via Twitter. We're at the number 2 guys with PhDs. And thanks again to everyone who continues to retweet our tweets. You can find us on Facebook. You can also find us on Twitter and on Instagram. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. You can stream us through Stitcher. You can also find us on TuneIn, and you can still find every single one of our podcast episodes, as well as our growing list of reviews and comics-related commentary on the blog at the website, which is comicsalternative.com. So there are a lot of ways of getting in touch with us, also communicating via the forum. I don't think anyone here at this table has participated on the Comics Alternative forum at all, have you?
Guilty.
Okay.
I will change that.
Here is your task, okay? Here is the call to action, right? Ascending forth. You know, later today, after you go home and you rest up from Free Comic Books Day, go to comicsalternative.com and begin participating on the forum.
Can I write about Invincible?
Yes, you can.
You can make a giant article.
I'm just going to write about Invincible.
On the podcast, we don't talk about mainstream superheroes. Well, Invincible's not a mainstream superhero.
No.
But you can talk about that stuff on the forum. It's anything goes. So I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Get in on the conversation, and we do like hearing from you guys. Everyone here, thank you very much for being a part of this on-location Free Comic Book Day 2015 show.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you for having me around. Sorry about blowing out your ears.
And scene.